Hey, Dustin Tibbetts here, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. How you doing today? Hope you're having a great day. I've got a real short one for you here today. I'm going to ask a question, and then I'm going to share a real quick story with you, and we'll get into the geeky data, show you on the screen here what is the best index to invest in. I'm going to start with that question. What is the best index to invest in? If you only had to choose one, there's only a handful of them out there, what would you choose, right? Now, I'll give you a hint. The answer to that question is actually another question. It's not an answer at all, and that leads to my story. When I was a kid, I was maybe 7, 8 years old, and we got to go fishing at a family friend's house. His name was Howard Tommy. He was the chief at the time of the Seminole Indians. Very popular, very wealthy guy, beautiful house, and he lived on the water, has this dock out back. It's pitch black out there. I can't see a thing. He's like, let's go fishing out back. I was excited. Got to hang with the guys, you know, for me, 7, 8-year-old kid, you're just happy to hang out with the guys, right? That was what I wanted to do. So we're like, okay, cool. Well, let's go fishing. That sounds great. I'd never been fishing before. It was my first time going fishing. And as we're walking out to the dock, he says, Dustin, where's the best place in Florida to go fishing at night? I said, well, I don't know. I've never been fishing. I couldn't say. And he goes, wrong. I'm going to teach you something. It's a life lesson. Keep it with you for the rest of your life. When someone asks a question like that, you have to recognize that they're excited to share information with you. And rather than simply say, I don't know, where is the best place to fish, you want to ask a question in such a way that gets them to not only share that information with you, but all the information. You want to know everything you can, because while tonight we're talking about fishing, another time we could be talking about a business deal. Another time we could be talking about a marriage deal. You want to know everything possible. Let it soak in. You never know when you may need that. So I'm like, okay, that sounds good. We get to the dock. We're standing on the dock, and he says, so I'll ask again, where is the best place in Florida to fish at nighttime? And he's looking at me like, come on, kid, you get this right, right? So I'm standing there and I'm like, well, all I could think to say was, what do you mean by best? Like, let's start there. I thought that would be the question to start with. So I said, well, what do you mean by best? And his eyes lit up, man. He was excited because I guess that was the right question to ask. And he goes, exactly. What is defined as best? See, if I'm going to share this information with you, you need to know not only that it is the best, but I've got to prove it to you now. I have to be able to show you something and then teach you why it is the best. So he flips on a switch on the dock, and this pitch black sort of area illuminates, man. It was like Disney at nighttime. It was beautiful, lights glowing everywhere, all underwater. And when he looked at me, he said, this is the best place to fish in Florida at night because I have the most lights. More lights equals more opportunity. And I'm like, okay, like I didn't get it. I still had no idea. Never been fishing before. Well, he then went on to teach me that as the lights warm up, the little baby fish start swimming around those lights. They're keeping warm, right? They think it's safe, it's comfortable, right? So they come around, they start swimming around the light. Sure enough, within about 5 minutes, they did. They were little tiny fish swimming around there, and I'm like, okay, I did a book report last week, and they gave me a goldfish bigger than these. I mean, this better be something, right? Give me something. And he goes, here's what happens next. The big fish recognize this. They see the fish in the water, clearly teasing them to come eat them. And the big fish will hide in the shadows, and they'll wait for their opportunity to strike. So it's upon us to take our bait and let it go into the light and pull it into the shadows as a straggling fish that's gone outside of its way, right? And so we ended up fishing. I caught my first fish. And the reason I remember that story is because the first fish that I ever caught, we didn't have circle hooks back then. The first fish that I caught swallowed my bait. And when I yanked on a hook, I pulled him out of the water. He was bleeding everywhere. It was flopping. There was blood all over the dock. And I was traumatized. I'm like, if this is catching fish, I mean, I'm a murderer. This is horrible, right? So I didn't feel good about it. Which leads me back to, what is the best index to invest in? Now, you know that the answer is not an answer. It is a question. And the question is, well, what do you mean by best, Dustin? Help me understand what best is. See, we're all investing for something. And a lot of people, they call it dumb money. A lot of people just blindly invest in something. They have no goal. They have no real thing they're trying to achieve. They don't know or expect what the returns should be. They just know they're supposed to be investing. And I hate that. I like people to know that they're investing the right amount of money for the right goal that they're shooting for. And better than that, I like that they're investing the least amount of money to hit the goal. I'm not like the typical advisors that wants you to just save a bunch of money. That's not the right answer. So let's get to the data here and share this with you. All right, we're going to start with the S&P 500. I'll use the SPY to put that on the chart. Let's go back 10 years because I'm going to need to, we'll zoom out here in a second. But here's the S&P 500 or the SPY if you want to participate. A lot of people say, I like the VOO, Dustin. It's the same thing. Look, I'll put it on a chart there. The exact same thing. They cost almost exactly the same. One's 0.003, the other's 0.006 or 9. It's really, really close. We're talking fractions of a penny over the course of your lifetime. It's not even that big of a deal. So that's the VOO. You've likely heard of the Dow. If we put the Dow on the chart over the last 10 years, you got the Dow lagging behind a little bit, which is fine. It's 30 stocks, whatever. You know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But in general, if you chose one of those three, you'd so far be happy. By the way, don't go choose one of these three because you watch this video. This is not a recommendation in any way for you to go buy any of this stuff. It's just a comparison showing you the data. You've probably heard of the Russell 2000. So let's go put the Russell 2000 in there. I'll use the IWM for that one. It's just the one that came to mind. There are, of course, other choices. And so that's going to be your orange line in there. Notice it's struggling a little bit here over the last couple months, but in general, it's basically all the same. We're close enough. And then we'll look at the NASDAQ. We'll put the NASDAQ in there, and that purple line in there is a clear differentiator, at least over the last 10 years. Been a great run, right? I'll put the VTI in there if you want to look at that one. That's the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index. That's going to be now the maroon, or we'll call it like a hot pink sort of line in there. The point being, over the last 10 years, the NASDAQ seems like the clear winner. But is it the clear winner? Is that the one you rush out and go buy at the moment? I don't know. I mean, we at least know that it's not the S&P 500, but 10 years, I don't know if that does anything for anybody. So I'm going to have to take out the VTI and the VOO because we can't go back any further for those. And we're going to go to MAX, which puts us all the way back to the year 2000. That gives you about 20 years. Now we've changed the scenario. Now it's the Russell 2000. That's the better performer. Small caps do tend to outperform, and now we can see over the long run they do. The Dow actually comes in second place here, and the NASDAQ comes in third place. The S&P 500 comes in dead last. So if you are blindly, or they call it dumb money, if you're sort of, like I said, you're putting money away, you're not doing anything about it, you don't have a goal or anything like that, you're blindly going in the S&P 500, are you getting everything you're expected to get or hoping to get? Have you ever thought about that, right? Now, I'm not saying that you go rush out and buy the Russell 2000 here, because by doing so, you've accepted more volatility, meaning when it goes up in a more volatile and crazy kind of way, and when it goes down, it more than likely is going to go down more than the other indices, which you might be okay with, you might not be. So the answer is not that, well, there is a better index, and it is either the NASDAQ or the Russell 2000. The answer is you have some really good choices here, and more than likely the answer is to do a series of these. Have a portfolio built up of indices. And in tomorrow's video, what I'm actually going to show you is how do you break that down? So that maybe if we're looking over the last 10 years, there's some way we can meet in the middle, reduce the volatility, still get exceptional returns or be positioned for them, and go from there. So I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry to take your time on a little short story there. Let me know below if you enjoyed it, if you want me to continue on things like this. I will get ready to, we'll look for tomorrow's video on the portfolios. We'll do a hyper simple example of building a simple portfolio to speed up or slow down. And we'll give you the examples on the charts there. Hey, I hope you'll stick around 5 o'clock today, every day actually. 5 o'clock Eastern time, we do a live stock market show. We call it The Closing Beat. It's on our YouTube channel at the jazzwealthmanagers.com. Also on Roku, Investors Business Network. Starts at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Hope you'll join us for that. And hey, that's great. Keep us in mind. Jazz Wealth, that's what we're here for. Teach you something a little bit new, and maybe you'll remember us and come work with us. Enjoy your day.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.